Hey there guys, it's Coopagen, and this time we're going to be doing a Dwemer inquiry volumes. There's 3 of them, but I flipped through the pages of them real quick and that didn't look like they were going to be really long. So I'm going to try and see if I can knock them out in a single video here. So we're going to dive right in. It's a Dwemer Inquiries Volume 1, Their Architecture and Civilization by Thelway Ghislaine, Scholar. It's been my life's work to investigate the Dwemer, their dubious history and mysterious banishment. My goal with this text is to share my findings and conclusions based on 80 years spent studying their unique architectural remains. The migration of the Deep Elves from their ancestral Dwemerith, now Morrowind, is a generally accepted fact. Recorded history supports this, specifically mentioning the Vorken clan's refusal to join King Demak in the forming of the First Council, and the subsequent exodus to Hammerfell. The architectural premise is also sound, as the building habits of the dwarves adapted and changed, albeit slowly and in subtle ways, over time and land. I propose that some of these differences are stylistic as well as practical. Traditional viewpoints suggest that the Vvardenfell Dwemer were the most prolific of their kind. Based on my excavations throughout Skyrim, Morrowind, and High Rock, I am not sure that this is the case. While Vvardenfell is almost cluttered with dwarven ruins poking through the surface of the landscape, the construction of these ruins is fundamentally different from the majority of what I've observed elsewhere. Further, as we delve into Vvardenfell ruins, we notice that their internal structure is quite different. While major civic and operational chambers are found near the surface in a Vvardenfell ruin, that is not typically the case on the mainland. Minor passageways and storehouse rooms are near the surface, but more important locations don't occur until we explore much deeper. Because such major locations are well hidden in Dwemer ruins outside of Morrowind, many scholars believe they were in fact not present in ruins outside that province. This premature conclusion led some to believe that such sites to be mere outposts. My research has shown this not to be the case. There are a few theories that may explain this difference. Perhaps clan architects simply had their own styles and preferences when it came to civic planning. This seems only somewhat likely, as dwarven techniques were based on empirical study. There was likely little room for creative interpretation when it came to building technique. Geological makeup of the terrain almost certainly played a role, especially in a region like northern Skyrim, where the ground near the surface is very rocky and often frozen, versus the volcanic substratum common in Vvardenfell or the ubiquitous aquifers found in Hammerfell. It's possible that dwarven architects in the north were not even able to excavate larger structures until reaching more pliable stratum. This scholar would like to suggest, however, that many structures west of Morrowind were built after the First Era, year 420, when the clan Vorken left Vvardenfell. It seems evident that several clans broke off to create their own settlements, and chose to live in greater isolation than their eastern brethren. This theory is particularly fascinating because it leads me to believe that dwarven architects may have developed even more elaborate methods of hiding their strongholds over time. This opens the distinct possibility that undisturbed dwarven archaeological sites exist throughout Tamriel, even in southern areas like Cyrodiil or Blackmarsh, where dwarves are not believed to have ever had a significant presence. Though we ought not to get carried away on flights of fancy, one could extrapolate this logic to suggest that dwarven clans were living among us for much longer than previously believed, perhaps well beyond the disappearance during the War of the Red Mountain in the First Era, year 700. So right now it's just simply saying that these guys were probably able to dig further down in areas that allowed for it, that in some areas they were working with really hard material or dangerous areas and made it impossible to create things the way they would have liked. At least that's what I'm taking from this. But that would be the first book right there. So guys, we're just going to pop back here. We're going to open up this one and we're going to continue on into the second book here. Dwemer Inquiries Volume 2, Their Architecture and Civilization by Thelway Ghislaine, Scholar. The limited written record supports the perception of the Deep Elves as culturally revering the pursuits of logic and science. This stands in stark contrast to the belief system of most other Mer cultures. When we imagine a society structured around such a central ideology, it seems reasonable that prolific scholars, especially in fields such as mathematics, metallurgy, or architecture, would be elevated to social status like that of clergy in a more mystically inclined culture. The idea is supported by a fragment of Dwemerist text recovered from a colony in Skyrim, Urken's Hand, which I believe to be associated with the clan Vorken. The original Dwemerists in my translation follow: to raise granted cousin Korlek of privilege with duties for family home building, Haugen Kultura, tradition to father Mundus Shaper. Some scholars interpret this as evidence of Dwemer worship of Mundus, but I do not agree. My translation of this passage suggests that a respected Dwemer by the name of Kolek was promoted to a civic position, probably tonal architect. The later half of the fragment suggests that Korlek's position requires him to build in a specific style. The term Haugen Kultura has thus far eluded me, but I believe it may be the name of such a style. It's possible there were several styles, differing in their construction principles and typical structures. One earmark of what I believe was a prevalent Dwemer style among northern clans was a feature I call the deep venue. Deep venues are often characterized as being made up of one or more expansive natural caverns in which several other structures will occur. Structures within the venue may be carved from the stone itself, or freely erected upon the cavern floor. The largest and most impressive venues, such as that found in Bethardems, may even feature roads wide enough for 10 large men to walk shoulder meets shoulder along it. Arcanexes are typically smaller structures. Very few have been properly studied before disruption by grave robbers or greedy adventurers, but those few undisturbed sites have contained a surprising collection of magical objects such as soul gems, alchemical concoctions, and magical texts. Some scholars take these as evidence that the Dwemer did in fact dabble in the magical arts. Based on what we know of their culture, as well as the fact that most arcanexes are minor structures compared to other common fixtures, I would suggest that these were centers of study and nothing more. Perhaps the dwarves established these halls as a means to study men in Myr, who surely seemed as alien to them as the Dwemer seem to us today. Great animalculatories can be found in many dwarven strongholds. These were the factories where the centurions and various other constructs were built. I have hoped to study these chambers for clues as to the means by which those mysterious automata are given life, but those same guardians make these especially difficult and dangerous areas to explore. Dang, so this guy's wanting to dive deeper into these areas and figure stuff out, but these guardians are very strong and make it hard to do that. I do like where this is going. I don't know a lot of the Dwemer stuff. It's something that we'll dive into as we go further on in books, hopefully, but if not, this is a good tidbit to learn from. We're going to go ahead and we'll do the Volume 3. Dwemer Inquiries Volume 3, Their Architecture and Civilization by Thelway Ghislaine, Scholar. My studies in this text have focused heavily on the fact that Dwemer archaeological sites west of Vardenfell seem to be built at much greater depths than their counterparts near the Red Mountain. I believe there was a specific threshold to which dwarven excavators could dig before the construction of vital structures would begin. I have referred to this threshold as the geocline, but I have found that too often to be redundant with the deep venue of a colony. Still, there is some variation to the actual depth of a deep venue, whereas the geocline is always the marker where I reason the city proper begins. Tunnels and chambers at more shallow depths, while often grand in their architectural style, appear to have served little in the way of critical civic purpose. Surplus stores of food, warehouse chambers that may have been used in trading with nearby surface settlements, or barracks for topside patrols are common above the geocline. These tunnels, I have observed, can meander in a seemingly more random pattern than those planned structures beneath. I hypothesize that this may be due to the unpredictable nature of any excavation, even to a race as clever as the Dwemer. Surely unexpected deposits of stone or geological events could make the effort difficult. I think that these haphazard tunnels are often the result of the search for suitable substratum to build within. I have found in a small number of ruins reference to a geological anomaly or place known as, and I have no idea what that's saying. This is intriguing because the term not only appears in a few tablet fragments, but very specifically in ornate metal frames in the deepest reaches of the strongholds Aftand, Erkenthand, and Mazinshileft of Skyrim. I have yet to decipher the meaning of these elaborate carvings, but consider it highly strange that they occur in the deepest part of each of these ruins. Risen by order, cousin of privileged Kolek of Shazesaline, privileged duties, clan home building Horgen Kultura tradition to hailed world shaper. The most reasonable translation of something that I have no idea what is I have managed to decipher is Blackest Kingdom Reaches. Okay, maybe that's what it is. But I cannot imagine what that means. I suspect there may be some pattern I am failing to notice. This creeping doubt has haunted my career in recent years, and I've begun to doubt if I will unravel some grand secret of the dwarves in my lifetime, though it lies just under my nose, or indeed, under my feet. Alright, that does seem to be the end of these books, guys. If you would like to see more of this stuff, let me know through a like on that little like button. If you smash that thing, maybe it'll leave the screen. I don't know, you have to hit it to find out. But if you want to see more of this stuff, hit that subscribe button and see if the same thing happens to that too, and you'll catch more of my videos going forward. However, with that, it seems like this is the end of these volumes. If I find more stuff on the Dwemer, I'll be sure to grab it out, guys. But thank you so much for hanging out for this one, and I hope you have a good one. Bye-bye, guys, and thank you.